What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with your one and done preview for this week's American Express. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty confused about this one. Don't really know where to go, so I'm going to waste some time. No, I'm going to let's talk about last week first, because last week was the first week of the officially the Gups Corner one and done, the Sony Open. I think we did a lot of things correctly. You know, we avoided Justin Thomas. I thought that was a pretty square play to use him. I certainly did not imagine he was going to miss the cut. So great for us. Not as many people used him in the Gups Corner one and done as I suspected. I think 127 people did. I was shocked to see that the guy that we picked, Morikawa, by the time Thursday came about, was the highest owned golfer in the Gups Corner one and done. 504 different owners burned Morikawa. He played great, right? I mean, well, for a lot of this, he was the first round leader, was in contention throughout, ends up 3-putting from 7 feet on 18, drops down to, I don't know, T21 or whatever he dropped down to. Unfortunately did not get us nearly enough money, but I think our thought process was correct. I thought that Webb Simpson was viable here and probably in 4 or 5 other spots. If you rostered Webb, you got like third place money out of it, but Cam Smith was the guy that ends up, I think there was like 30 guys who had Cam Smith to go out and get the full winner share, 1.1 million, I believe. Never really seriously on my radar for one and done, but congrats to those who were able to take that down. All right, this week, the American Express. Quite frankly, this is a little bit confusing because this week, you know, again, I mentioned it last week. I'm not going to break down everything that I did on the DFS video. I will link that above. You can go and check that out for a lot of the course stuff. But for one and done, because of the volatility and the randomness that comes into play any week, let alone the 3-course rotation, 54-hole cut, pro-am aspect of this week, like, you could make an argument for a lot of guys. You know, the fact that Adam Long won this at like 400 to 1 last year, this is the type of tournament that brings these guys back into play. So certainly will not be using anyone who's 400 to 1 to win the golf tournament. But this week, more than most, you could probably convince me to go somewhere off the board. So with that being said, the betting board for this week, let me see if I can pull it up here really quickly. Ricky Fowler 11 to 1, Sung Jae at 16, Paul Casey 22, Finau 22, Benny On 25, Horschel 28, Scotty Schaeffler 28. Probably going to play one of those guys. Charles Howell III will probably get a lot of looks because he's made like 10 straight cuts here. I think that more people will play Phil Mickelson than they should. You know, he's going to get a lot of hype before the tournament because he's the host here. You're going to hear his name a lot. You're going to see that he has great tournament history. I'm not necessarily buying into that. Again, go watch the DFS video. I talk a little bit about kind of Phil's demise a little bit, but for this week, let's kind of look through some of this. So if you're considering someone like Ricky Fowler, the good news is, you know, long-term form, he's very easily the best player in this field. We haven't seen a lot of him, and when we've seen him, he hasn't been all that inspiring, right? His recent results, kind of like, I think it was T19 at the Tour Championship. He was like middle of the pack at the Hero World Challenge. He played okay at the Century Tournament of Champions. But Ricky has some kind of natural places to use him. So what you'll see, it's weird. Ricky gets spread out quite a bit over the course of the year. So if you look back at 2019 season in review, he's going to be used at Waste Management a ton, which is where he did get used nearly 300 times last year. That was the most, right? That's where he was used the most. But then he was also used 288 times at the Wells Fargo Championship, because there's going to be a couple of tournaments this year where Ricky is the clear favorite, like this week, right? You know, he's 11 to 1. He's the best player in the field. That's going to happen a couple of more times. You could also use him. Let's see. He was used at majors, right? You kind of go off the, off the obvious picks for a bit, and you don't pick, Rory, DJ, you don't pick Justin Thomas, you pick Ricky, who has been knocking on the door of majors for a long time. You can see he was used quite a bit, 237 times at the PGA Championship. So like what I'm getting at here is I don't mind using Ricky. I think you don't have any tournament history on him. If you're just going for clear skill set, I think he's fine. I'm like 60% probably going to use Ricky Fowler in this situation. But I couldn't blame you for not, right? Because you're going to get this same exact situation later in the year, probably 2 or 3 more times, where like Rocket Mortgage, right? Like he's going to be there because he's a sponsored guy, not a great field. He's probably going to be the favorite there too. Like you're going to get opportunities to use Ricky. You don't have to use him this week. And if you look at his expected value, 143,000 in expected value for this week. If you just wait like Farmers, use him next week at Farmers, 167. Like there's a lot of places to use Ricky. I don't know. I think you can use him here, but I don't think a lot of people will. I do think there'll be a lot of love for like Sung Jae, which I love Sung Jae in a big way. He's going to play quite a bit. So I certainly couldn't fault you for that. The guy that I think is kind of interesting is Scotty Schaeffler. He's 28-1. He's playing really well. I have high hopes for Scotty Schaeffler this season. He's a guy that you could probably convince me into playing. So if I'm going to use Ricky probably 60% of the time, I use Scotty probably, 25% of the time. That leaves me with 15%. I could probably use Sung Jae like 10% of the time, and someone like Benny on 5%. I don't necessarily need to go much lower than that. Molinari, surprisingly, actually not surprisingly, he is the guy right behind Ricky Fowler in terms of expected value for everybody in this field, where where Molinari, like, again, just you're banking on long-term stuff. He hasn't been great since he punted away the Masters last year. But he's very clearly probably second best player in this field. So like, I also couldn't kill you for that. Especially with the 3-course rotation, there's just so much. Like I'd be lying to you if I was like, this is so obvious you have to play these guys. Now, if you look back at last year, and note that this is another one of these small purses, $6.7 million. It ranks 28 out of 36 purses this year. Charles Howell III, by far the highest owned golfer last year. 318 owners picked him. No one else, is this right? This has got to be right. No one else was picked more than 70 times. So then you just see a bunch of guys like, 50, like Paul Casey was next, 67 picks. Patton Kizzire, 65. Cam Champ, 59. Like the ownership was so spread out last year. 837 picks. That can't be right. Let me double check this really quick. All right, my bad. So what happened here is I had a filter on, so this is only showing guys that are in this field. So my bad. So here are the results for last year. John Rahm was the highest owned golfer, 621 picks. Patrick Cantlay, 533, and then Charles Howell III, who was 416. Those were the only guys over 250. Then next was Adam Hadwin, 228. So literally, Rahm's not here. Cantlay's not here. Hadwin's not here. So 3 of the 4 highest owned golfers from last year are not playing this year. So that has to go somewhere. I do think a lot of it piles up on Charles Howell III. I think a lot of it piles up on probably like Sung Jae, right? Like that seems to be a fairly obvious one. But yeah, this is tough to figure out because we're not getting the same type of field. Now, what I also did was, so I'll update this tool before this video goes live. Actually, I just pushed an update, so it should be updating shortly. You'll never see the old version. What I did do was I added this little winner's path portion of this to the visual here. So if you go back to 2019 season in review and then you click on winner's path, this is actually the chart that I showed in like the original how to win your one and done pool video. And someone was like, hey, can you add that to the one and done tool? And I was like, actually, yeah, great idea. Sure, I will. So you can click through these tournaments and see not only who picked who, or not who picked who, how many people picked each one of these golfers, what their prize was, and then the winner is he's in gold. So the eventual winner of the Gups Corner one and done had Patrick Cantlay last year, took chalk, and Cantlay got $159,000. Rahm, pretty popular as well, but it was because no one had the winner, no one had Adam Long, didn't really get away from you here, right? Like even those who had Phil or Adam Hadwin, which were, you know, less than some of the chalkier guys, you know, only quote unquote earned $500,000 because no one had the winner in this field because Adam Long was, you know, so far off of the beaten path here. So that is now available to you. And then what I'll be doing is underneath this 2019 season in review, I'm going to try to add something for 2020 so you can see, you know, if you're on Ricky Fowler's page, how often he has already been picked for this year and see, you know, kind of be able to compare it to 2019. So keep an eye out for that. If you have access to the one and done tool, which is part of the DFS on demand subscription, or you can just get access to the one and done tool yourself. And a lot of people are asking me where to get access to this. So I'll show you really, really quickly. If you go to welcome or join the team on dfsondemand.com, join the team at the top, scroll down to the membership options. It's to the far right of the yearly. It's right there. It's $9 for the year. Okay. So just to recap, I don't know what to do. So I will probably play Ricky. There's a good chance I play Scotty Schaeffler. Those two I'm in between right now. I could not blame you for playing either one of those. I could not blame you for playing Sung Jae. I could not, you know, Casey would be fine. Charles, like, I couldn't blame you for any of this. So it's a weird week with a lot of volatility and a lot of guys who are no longer in this field from last year who earned a lot of the chalk. So I don't really know where it's going to be going. So I'll rely on you guys. So let me know. Who are you picking? Tweet me. It's at RickRunGood. And maybe we can source some information. I'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.